Hello everyone, this is Amrita, Faculty of Social Work Department, with you to help you understand about urban and urban community.
Shutterstock Music.
So, dear learners, this will be the scheme for today's presentation. So, initially, we will try to understand what is urban, the features of towns and cities in India, what does an urban community mean, the characteristics of an urban community, and finally, the connections between the rural and urban areas. Dear learners, let me introduce the concept of urban. An urban area is a region surrounding a city. Most of the inhabitants of an urban areas have non-agricultural jobs, and they represent the characteristics of the city or a city life. And the urban area has its roots from the Latin word urbanus, which means city itself. Most of the attributes of an urban area are being classified under demographic, ecological, and social culture. And the urban area could be very well understood by the size of the population and the degree of complexity of the various organizations that are present in an urban area. So it could be a municipality or a corporation or various welfare organizations that are there in an urban area, which clearly differentiates it from a village, and that which isn't present in a town, and that it differentiates it from a city, and a city is being differentiated it by the size and the organizations, which isn't present in a metropolis. So the census of 2011 defines urban by these three important points, and the definition of urban was initially being framed by Ashok Mitra in the year 1961. So he says that at least 5,000 inhabitants should be there in an area which could be claimed as an urban, and the density of the inhabitants should be more than 400 people living in per square kilometer, and at least 75% of the male working population are engaged in non-farm activities. So I'm sure that you'll have a question in mind. So what is the population size of India at present who are living in an urban area? So it goes up to 48 crores. 19 lakhs 80,332 people. So this is really a huge number. So this is actually a picture about the towns and cities in India, and so, depending upon the services available, size, and functions rendered, urban areas are assigned as towns, cities, conurbation, and metropolis. So, the towns and cities in India are rapidly increasing, and about 377 million people live in 7,935 towns and cities according to census 2011. So this actually constitutes to 31.2 percentage of the total population. So next we move on to urban community. Urban community is defined as the population aggregate whose occupations are non agriculture and specialized activities. So, the important keyword of this definition is population aggregate. So, population aggregate is actually the collection of people who live together but are in no way socially connected. And their main occupations are non agriculture and specialized activities, which gives you an understanding that people in urban community are they take up occupation which is not related to agriculture. So it could be a construction sector, or they could work in a manufacturing sector, or they could be a part of a communication industry, or a transport industry. So the urban community are being understood by their occupation and the kind of specialized activities in which they are involved in. And there are various different characteristics also which help you to understand about an urban area. There are health and educational infrastructures which are found in an urban area, and this is comparatively low in a rural area. And there is a better provision of these amenities available in an urban area. When it comes to the distribution and access of these amenities to the people living in urban areas, again there is a variation. So it is not that all the communities living in an urban area have equal access and distribution of these amenities. So again, for example, people who are from the slum, so the slum communities and the people who are being no least advantaged, they could be parentless children or widow, and they are being denied of distribution and access, or they are not no the access to these amenities aren't equal to these disadvantaged sections. And the people living in an urban area, they are very large, and they are densely populated, and the permanent settlement of socially heterogeneous individuals. So it means that they are in no way connected or no way related to each other. There are also secondary groups such as corporations, voluntary organizations, and many representative forms of government, and the media people who replace the primary groups which are found in villages. And these relationships are considered to be impersonal, segmental, superficial, transitory, and often predatory in nature when compared to an rural setting. So these could be some of the identities of an urban area. So let's talk about the characteristics of an urban community. So the first main characteristic of an urban community is that of the size. So the World Bank population estimates gives us a statistic that in the year 2020, the population of people of urban areas in India was about 48 crores 19 lakhs 80,332 people, which is actually an increase of 2.32 percentage from to 2019. And so it means that people in an urban setting are increasingly more. So people from the rural areas, they are actually migrating to the urban setting. So, the next important characteristic of an urban community is that they are densely populated. So, when compared to the rural communities, the density of population is more, and the urbanity and density are positively correlated. So, one important feature of an urban area is that these people no are hugely populated, and there is a lack of space for them, and this actually makes them to be densely populated. So that could be one of the reasons. And when it comes to the family ties, the urban community is actually more concerned, and they are no they actually are very much interested to be a part of nuclear families. And uh, when compared to a rural setting, in an urban setting, nuclear families are more popular. uh, this is found very evident, and this is very evident everywhere. So the next important characteristic is about the marriage. So in an urban community, choice-based marriages and intercaste marriages are very popular. Even though there is people pay importance to their culture and to their rituals, there is not that much no stringent behavior it seen when it comes to marriage. So the sons and daughters are given freedom to choose their life partners, which is very much common in an urban setting. When it comes to the occupation, we have already understood that the people living in an urban community, they are much involved in non-agricultural jobs, which could be a manufacturing, which could be in a manufacturing sector or in an industrial sector, or they could be administrative professionals, or they could be a part of a construction sector. And divisions of labor and occupational specializations are very much common in an urban setting. When it comes to the class extremes, so we do not find a kind of discrimination, or a discrimination based upon the caste. So here, instead of caste, the class plays a vital role. So the we have both the richest and poorest people in an urban setting. And in a city, the in cities, the slums of the people exist, okay, whereas you could also find rich people in one side and the poor people on the other side. And there are chances of no most civilized modes of behavior seen, as well as most worst racketeering found in the city. So both extremes are possible in an urban setting. So the next important characteristics of an urban community is about their social mobility. So social mobility is about you change, or you move from one class to the other class. For example, you belong to a middle class, and there are opportunities available everywhere in an urban setting, which will help you to move to the upper middle class, and from the upper middle class you go to the higher class. So this is one important feature of an urban community. And in urban areas, the social status of an individual is not actually determined by their hereditary, or by birth, or by caste, but it is usually being determined by their skill sets, by their merit, by their intelligence and perseverance. And hence urbanity and mobility are positively correlated. I hope I'm making myself clear, dear learners. So, the next important topic is about the rural and urban linkages. So, rural and urban linkages are being defined as the cultural, economical, environmental, social, political, connections between communities along the rural urban divide. So, rural and urban connections could be understood by these six following types. So, the first important linkages is about their physical linkages. So, with that of the road networks, railway networks, river and water transport networks, the physical linkages are being built between a rural and an urban area. And the next is about the economical linkages. So, market patterns, raw materials, and consumption of good flows, consumption and shopping patterns, capital and income flows also determines how far the rural and urban people are connected. So, actually, production of raw materials. And production of food, and it happens in an rural area and which is being transported to an urban area for consumption, and in turn production of um, uh, goods, so goods such as clothes or other infrastructural services, so that is being available in the urban setting. So wherein the rural people just they reach out to the urban setting in order to avail those goods. So that is how the rural and urban people connect themselves. So the next is about the population movement linkages. So people know migrate for permanent and temporary jobs, and from a rural to an urban setting especially. And there is also a kind of social interaction linkages also take place. So during festive seasons, there is a growing number of people who visit their hometown, in order to build their relationship. So that is a kind of social interaction which takes place. And next is about the technological linkages. Telecommunication systems aren't being very much available and developed and accessed in an urban area. So these facilities in turn are utilized by the rural people by way of visiting an urban area. So the service delivery linkages such as the credit and financial networks such as the banks or microfinance credits, and no visiting government offices for the services, so it is being available in an urban setting wherein the rural people visit the urban areas. So dear learners, I hope you enjoyed the session. See you in the next session. Thank you.